There is a moment no one warns you about. Not in the self-help books, not in the therapy sessions, not in the late-night conversations you had with yourself trying to figure out where everything went wrong. It happens quietly, almost without announcement. The empath wakes up one morning and feels nothing. Not pain, not longing, not that familiar ache that used to live somewhere behind the sternum. Just a clean, white silence where the chaos used to be. And the people around them panic. Because an empath who feels nothing looks, from the outside, like someone who is finally broken. Like someone who has given up on love, on people, on life itself. They call it coldness. They call it damage. They say something is wrong with you now, that you've changed, that you're not who you used to be. They're right about one thing: you're not. Carl Jung spent his life studying what happens when a human being is pushed to the very edge of their emotional capacity. What he found wasn't collapse, it wasn't damage, it was transformation. And it looked almost always like death before it looked like anything else. Jung called it the closing of the last door. The moment when the empath stops waiting, stops hoping, stops standing at the entrance of a relationship that was never going to let them in. They don't slam the door, they don't cry in front of it, they simply turn around and walk away. And this time, they don't look back. That stillness, that eerie, unshakable calm, is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of something far more powerful. It is the arrival of the self. To understand what happens when an empath goes cold, you have to understand what came before it. Years, sometimes decades, of emotional labor that was never returned. Years of translating your pain into language the other person could accept. Years of shrinking your needs so they wouldn't feel inconvenient. Years of reading the room, managing the temperature, absorbing what others refused to carry. The empath didn't do this because they were weak. They did it because they genuinely believed that love meant sacrifice, that if you gave enough, if you understood enough, if you stayed patient long enough, the other person would finally open, would finally see them, would finally meet them halfway. But halfway never came. And at some point the body keeps the score. The nervous system, exhausted from years of hypervigilance, stops sounding the alarm, not because the danger is gone, but because the empath has made a decision so deep it doesn't even feel like a decision. Enough. Jung observed that this moment, this final closing, always followed a specific kind of grief. Not the loud grief, not the sobbing on the bathroom floor grief, something quieter and far more final. It is the grief of accepting that a person will never be who you needed them to be. Not because they're incapable of growth in general, but because they chose repeatedly not to grow toward you. That distinction matters. It means you stop waiting for circumstances to change them. You stop constructing scenarios in your mind where they finally understand what they did. You stop rehearsing the conversation where they look you in the eyes and say, "I see you now. I'm sorry. You deserved better." You grieve the conversation that will never happen, the apology that will never come, the version of them you loved that only ever existed in the space between who they were and who you hoped they would become. And when that grief finishes its work, when you have mourned not just the relationship but the dream of the relationship, something closes. The last door. This is when people start calling you cold. You stop answering certain messages with urgency. You stop explaining your boundaries as if they require a defense. You stop engaging when someone tries to pull you back into an old dynamic. You respond, if you respond at all, from somewhere completely flat and unreachable. And everyone who used to benefit from your openness interprets this as hostility, as arrogance, as evidence that you've become something lesser. But Jung would tell you exactly what's happening. The empath is no longer performing emotional availability they don't feel. They are no longer pretending that certain relationships deserve access to their interior life. They have stopped confusing politeness with intimacy, presence with vulnerability, tolerance with love. What looks like coldness is actually the end of a very long performance. And the empath has finally left the stage. Here is what the cold empath knows that no one around them understands. They know the difference between someone who misses them and someone who misses what they provided. They know that an apology designed to reopen a door is not the same as an apology that takes responsibility. They know that intensity is not the same as depth, that chaos is not the same as passion, that someone needing you is not the same as someone choosing you. They have developed through suffering a kind of perception that cannot be manufactured or rushed. They see clearly now. And clarity, Jung understood, is the end of sentimentality. When you see a situation exactly as it is, not as you hoped it would be, not as it was in its best moments, not as it could theoretically become, emotional investment becomes very difficult to sustain. The cold empath is not unfeeling, they are unfooled. There will be people who tell you this is not healing, that real healing means staying open, staying soft, giving people the benefit of the doubt indefinitely. But Jung found something different. He found that the empaths who never closed this final door were the ones who stayed trapped, who healed 90% of the way and then rebuilt the same relationships with slightly different faces, who understood their patterns intellectually but couldn't stop repeating them emotionally. The closing of the last door is not a failure of love. It is the completion of grief. It is the moment you stop asking a locked room to let you in and realize you have been standing in the open air the whole time. So if you are in this place right now, if you feel that strange, hollow calm where the pain used to live, understand what it is. It is not numbness. It is not indifference. It is not evidence that you've become someone incapable of connection. It is evidence that you have finally, after everything, chosen yourself. The last door has closed. Not on love, not on people, not on the possibility of being seen and known and held by someone who actually means it, only on what was never going to give you that. And now, for the first time in longer than you can remember, the only voice in the room is yours. Jung would call this individuation. The moment you stop being defined by your relationships and start being defined by yourself. You would call it something simpler. Quiet. And quiet, after all that noise, is the most revolutionary thing you've ever felt. You are not cold. You are complete. And the door that just closed was never yours to keep open.